I feel like I'm running, but getting nowhere. Fear is suffocating me. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm drowning. I'm sinking deeper. White light fades to red as I enter the city of the dead. Extravagant maestatis, qui salvando salvas gratis. Salve me fons beatatis, salve me fons beatatis. Extravagant maestatis, qui salvando salvas gratis. Salve me fons beatatis, salve me fons beatatis.
Guys, what's going on? It's Jason with Archangel Ministries. You'll have to excuse the mess. I have several projects that I'm working on, so the studio/armory is not quite as neat as what it usually is. But, on to the subject at hand. Today, I'm going to do my best to articulate my thoughts and bring to you the video that I have been discussing for a while and saying that I was going to do on Samhain, or if you prefer, Halloween, All Hallows Eve, whatever it is you want to call it, Night of High Luciferian Sacrificial Rituals, all that good stuff. And the reason why Christians have absolutely zero business whatsoever performing the rituals contained therein. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are probably fussing at me and screaming into the microphone right now, and they're probably going to try and light up the comments, fussing, fighting, and arguing with me about, oh, God knows my heart, and it's okay. No, it is not okay. And there are multiple reasons why it is not okay. One, the origins of what this quote-unquote holiday actually is. Holiday. And what you are actually doing is performing or reenacting a human sacrificial ritual, whether you would like to regard that or not. Okay, so let's kick it off. All right, what reasons are there that this should not be done by Christians? Well, let's start with the huge, bright neon green and pink elephant that's in the middle of the room. Christ didn't. Yeah. Samhain was around a long, long time ago. The rituals were different. However, Christ never did any sort of pagan rituals, nor did he celebrate pagan holidays. Samhain was never celebrated by Christ. Christmas, or what would actually be known as Yule, was never celebrated by Christ. Ishtar, or what people would call Easter, was never celebrated by Christ. Uh-oh. I hear the sound of Christians screaming. Gotta admit, gotten used to it. I kind of like it now. Okay. Alright, so this is the big elephant in the room, alright? Paganism has been around many centuries. Thousands and thousands of years. Paganism was there before Christ walked the earth. You can see this in the Old Testament, okay? We are Christians. We are called to be Christ-like. That is what that word means. We are supposed to imitate and be as Christ was. That means that we don't go around celebrating holidays and doing rituals that praise pagan gods. Yeah. Yeah, we're not supposed to do that. Can you hear me out there? It's bad juju. All right. And there's all sorts of examples throughout Scripture for that. You find them all out the New Testament where witchcraft is condemned and, idolatry is condemned and everything else. But tell you what, let's start with one of my favorites. This is Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 through 13. When thou art come into the land which the Lord God gives thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. Witchcraft is an abomination. Human sacrificial rituals are an abomination. Do you hear me? Bad stuff. We are not to participate in those kinds of activities. All right, and I'm going to break it down for you and to explain where I'm getting Halloween being ritualized from in a moment, but let's continue. There shall not be found among you anyone that makes his son or his daughter pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits. You hear me? Or a wizard, or a necromancer. Okay. All right. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. By participating in these things, you are marking yourself as an abomination to God. All right, so let's move on. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. Christ was perfect with the Lord thy God. We are to be Christ-like. Okay? All right. Now, granted, this isn't going to be a lesson on hyper-grace versus legalism or anything like that, because hopefully if you guys have watched my channel long enough, you would know and understand that I am not a legalist, nor do I believe in hyper-grace in any manner whatsoever. The simple truth of the matter is, the closer you are with Jesus, the more you are going to walk like him, and he is the one that gives you the ability to keep the laws. It is that simple. Without Christ, you cannot walk in the laws that God laid out in the Old Testament. It just can't happen. Okay. Moving on. All right. So let's address where Halloween comes from and allow me to cite how everything that you and your child do during Halloween is an imitation of an occult sacrificial ritual. All right? Right after I turn that off because it's getting loud. Okay. As you who have watched my testimonies, videos and stuff, you know that I was brought up and trained by Druids, those in the Druidic order. As a matter of fact, at one point in time, I had ascertained the rank of a high priest in said order. Alright, now, having said that, allow me to reveal to you what would happen and on Samhain, the eve of Samhain. Actually, no, before that, let me tell you what a Druid is. The Druidic order, for those of you who don't know, you see the artwork and stuff from them constantly. It was the religion of not just the Celts, but the Vikings. As a matter of fact, the Druidic Order once covered almost all of Europe. I mean, now granted, different sections had different names for the gods and goddesses that they would worship. However, they were all Druid. And the modern quote-unquote Druidism that you see today is not the same as what happened back then, or rather the public face of it, just like the public face of Satanism, is absolutely nothing like what it actually is behind the curtain and what it is in the ancient texts, the grimoires, the ancient books of shadows. Having said that, you guys are familiar with, Celtic artwork, such as this. See the knotwork and stuff on the side. That's Druidic. That is their artwork. You see that in Vikings, Scotland, Ireland, Wales. You see it all over the place because, as I said, the Druids once spanned a very, very large empire and were directly involved with the politics therein. As a matter of fact, I have a few images of Druids that I will show you now. Okay, here we go. Wasn't that lovely? Did you see all those images? Yeah, I know, right? I've learned one thing over the years. Occultism, the Druidic Order, it's never quite as cool to people looking into it as you think you are while you're performing it. Yeah. These days, if I saw myself in robes like those, I'd have to kick my own butt. Anyways, moving on. Okay, so that is Druids. A lot of those images are what modern Druidism is and what it's, shown as in different parts of the world today. I cannot really show images of what it really is and the rituals and stuff pertain therein because, well, let's face it, I'm pretty much shadow banned on YouTube as it is, and for me to show that would probably get my channel shut down, and I don't want to do that until I've been able to move everything to another platform. Alright, so Samhain is the celebration of the god or goddess of death of the Druidic religion. Alright, and cue images of said gods and goddesses right now. Okay, now those images, one of them was actually of different deities. Okay, one of them was the actual Druidic god of death, which was the picture that looked like the warrior, sitting on the little throne with the sword. Yeah. The other one, the one with the nice big horns, kind of the Blue Man Group looking guy, that was actually Cernunnos. And then the female, the goddess that you saw, is referred to as the crone, but she is a triune goddess, and she always has 3 different forms. We've discussed her in other videos. She is also known as the Ladies of the Wood, the Crones, which that's also what she's known by in Greek mythology. You know, the Crones, the holders of fate. You know, you saw that in Clash of the Titans. You know, Perseus had to go meet with them. You know, they had the little eyes. Yeah. The ones that hold the fate of man and cut their cords. Yeah. Same deity. Alright, just different cultures. Alright, so Samhain was a night that they would celebrate this god or goddess, depending upon region, again, of death. The way that it was done is it was all about human sacrifice that night. See, the reason why Samhain is so important is because it is a high ritual day, and it is one of 2 days in the year where they believe that the veil was the thinnest between the physical world and the spiritual world, and that demons and gods and goddesses could pass through willingly at any given point, which is a reason for a lot of the things that you see that pertain to the holiday of Halloween. Alright? So, I'm going to lead you through what one of those ritual nights would have looked like back in the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, you know, even before that. And then, while I'm introducing you to these various things, we're going to pause at brief moments, and I'm going to show you, hey, this is how it was then, this is the translation of it today. Alright? The Druids would spend a long time getting everything set up for these rituals. Alright? They would spend weeks constructing the final sacrificial chamber that would take place at the end of the night. And I will show you an image of that once we come to it towards the end. But on the night of All Hallows Eve, Halloween, Samhain, the Druids would go out to the individual villages and the outskirts, and they would gather items for the sacrifice, for the rituals. A lot of times what they would do is they would go to different houses in the villages and on the outskirts, and they would come to your home, and they would knock on the door, and they would demand an item from your household. If you had said item, they would take it, and they would place a carved out gourd on your property that was supposed to be a sign that you had participated in and would ward off evil spirits, which is what we have now, which is jack-o'-lanterns. That's the entire history behind the jack-o'-lantern, just so you know. Yeah, it's supposed to be a symbol that you have participated and done what was called on you during the night of ritual sacrifice, and it's supposed to be a sign for the demons to pass your home by. Didn't know that, did you? Yeah, that's what that is. Okay, if you did not have the item that they were demanding, they would demand a sacrifice. And most often, they would take one of your children, and they would either kill them right there in front of you as tribute of your household to Samhain, to the god or goddess of death, or they would take said family member and take them with them, and they would be offered up at the main ritual sacrifice at the end of the night. And they would do this in each area. So the villagers lived in fear of Samhain, though some of them would be very devout and would offer it up willingly if they did not have said item, which that is the power of fear. And it's also the power of idolatry. So that's what that is. Some of the villagers, fearing the demons that would be on the loose that night, and wraiths and other creatures of the night, they would actually dress up to make the demons think that they were one of them so that they would pass them by and leave their house alone. So just in that little bit right there, we have jack-o'-lanterns, where that came from. We have trick-or-treating. Not as innocent as you thought, was it? Nope. Shame to shame. And we also have costumes. Yeah. And at the actual rituals that are still performed to this day underground, those costumes are quite eloquent, quite sought after. Most of them are made out of human flesh, believe it or not. It's very gruesome. If you've ever seen the rooms that... Moving on. We're not going to go there. Anyways. Okay. Now. Sorry, I got to compose. Get myself back. Alright, so after these things took place, like I said, you would have the villagers. A lot of the villagers would actually have their own celebrations during Samhain, and they would have gatherings where they were all dressed like this, and they would do their own little personal rituals and stuff along with the druids that night. And so it was very localized and something that was also practiced across a large span of the globe. Simultaneously, a lot like the Luciferian rituals are now. Just like Samhain and Black Mass, Ishtar. In modern day Luciferianism, Lucifer, when he demands the human sacrifices, he will give them a number, and he will make sure that each coven is orchestrating it in a specific time frame, so that he can actually be present at the ones that he wants to be at, across the globe. He's not God, he's not omnipresent, so he has to be able to travel from one place to another. Scotland, Ireland, Germany, Russia, Memphis, Tennessee, Arkansas, New York, California, etc., etc., etc. So I believe that it was the same way back then. As a matter of fact, a lot of the ancient books of shadows and the grimoires and everything actually attest to this. So what you're seeing in history still happens today in modern Satanism and Druidism, although they are actually one and the same. I mean, who do you think the horned god is? I wonder. Not really. Secret. I know who he is. It's not hard to figure out. Alright. So this is what you would have taking place all across the world, wherever the Druids were involved. And, so we've got jack-o'-lanterns, we've got trick-or-treating, we've got the costumes. Alright. Now, there are some aspects, like the final sacrificial ritual, the way they did it back then, that you see celebrations of it today, though last time I checked it wasn't actually done on All Hallows Eve. Most of the time it's taken place, instead of being done on Samhain, they usually do it during Beltane at Burning Man. And I'll show an image of what they actually built. It's a rough artist rendering. As I said, it's to my knowledge. Now, in other parts of the world, it might still be practiced, and they might actually build these structures and stuff now, but here in America, it really doesn't happen that way. They do still do the burnt sacrifice and things of that nature. However, it's not as eloquent as it was back then, or can't really call it eloquent, as sought after and had as much energy put to it as it did back then. Okay, so after the Druids had went out and they had gathered the herbs and items they needed, or the people that were going to be sacrificed, and it would be innocent people, not just prisoners that were being held for that specific purpose, although that did happen. They would take them to where the final offering would be made. They would give them, a lot of them would be given an option to attempt to gain the rights to keep their life. However, it was done a very grotesque way. They would actually have a cauldron there that would actually be preparing, the sacrificial goods, I guess would be a way of putting it, in. And, well, it would be a boiling cauldron, and they would have things like apples and, items and stuff like that in it. And they would give you the option of retrieving an item from said cauldron. But you couldn't use your hands. You had to get it with your mouth because your hands were actually bound. So you would have to stick your face into a boiling cauldron in order to retrieve said item. And if you could not get it, then not only would you be maimed and burned, but you would still be sacrificed at the end of the night. If you were able to get the item, I'm sure you can imagine how severe the burns and things on your face would be after trying to get that with your mouth. This is where the tradition of quote-unquote bobbing for apples comes from. Yeah, so there's another one to put down in your little checkbook. Hope you're taking notes on this. But, so basically your option was to retrieve said item and be disfigured grotesquely and live that way for the rest of your life, or pass it up and be sacrificed and die along with everybody else. It's brutal. Well, at the end of the night, once the druids had done their thing and the spirits been called upon and everything else, they would offer a burnt human sacrifice at the end of the night in order to appease the god / goddess, again, depending on your region, of death. And the way they would do that is they would build this huge wicker structure of woven branches and everything else, and each section would have compartments in it that people would be placed into. Depending upon the size of the wicker man, would give you how many people they could actually fit in there to be killed. I actually have an image of that, and I will show that to you now. And these structures were very, very, very big and very elaborate in some cases, and could hold a very large amount of people. 30, 40, 50 was not unheard of at all. There's some legends that talk about, in the hundreds, people being kept in these very large wicker constructions. And they would actually take it and soak it, and then they would set it on fire, and everyone that was in it would be burned alive. There was no quick death. It was very slow, rigorous, painful, and miserable. I mean, even if you were at the base and you were the first to go up, it was slow and agonizing. I can't think of a worse way to die than being burned alive. Well, except maybe being eaten alive by like an anaconda or something, but still. That's a very gruesome way to go, and you got to think the people that were up in it, depending upon what level you were in, you would hear the screams and the cries of everyone else that was going before you. And that is the reason why these constructions were done, because it operates just like the human sacrificial rituals that are done today. The fear and the trauma and the torment draws very large, very powerful demons into those areas. And once the ritual is done, those demons are then sent out over vast areas in order to control not just and manipulate not just the population, but also the politicians and kings and rulers and and things of those areas. So it's very nasty, very gruesome, very dark business. You know what I mean? So this is the reason why Christians have no business celebrating this. If you were a Christian, why in God's name would you actually want to allow your child to dress up as anything, go trick-or-treating, do jack-o'-lanterns? You know, why would you allow them to reenact this ritual? Why? You know, Anton LaVey once said his greatest pleasure was knowing that Christians allowed their kids to worship the devil at least one day out of the year, and that's Halloween. That is Samhain. All right? So, this isn't a laughing matter, guys. This isn't nothing small. This is truth. This is what's going on. And right now, children, homeless, women, men, they are being prepped at this moment as we speak for the high sacrificial rituals and the trauma and stuff that is coming in the next few days. You know, and don't get it twisted, okay? I know about the politics and Halloween's being canceled this year and blah blah blah. Don't get it twisted. For me, this is not a political issue. Politically speaking, you're free to do whatever you want to, and the government doesn't have any right or authority to tell you that you can't because you're a grown adult. All right? The government doesn't have that authority. Nobody gave it to them, and if you're willing to give it to them, then you're a fool. This is about God. This is about Christ. This is about living up to His expectations of us and doing what we are supposed to do. And if you have this knowledge and refuse to act on it and are still going to let your kids go around and trick-or-treat and dress up and perform these rituals, then I wonder just what kind of relationship you actually have with Jesus. I really do. And you can get mad at me for saying that. You can get mad at, you know what? Don't even bother trying to get mad at me. I'm just telling you like it is. I'm telling you the truth. I can't wait to see the reactions I get for the one I do on Yule, or Christmas, as most Christians like to call it. Y'all ain't seen nothing yet. We as Christians who are called to be Christ-like have no business whatsoever performing and reenacting these rituals to the devil. None. And if this is something you're willfully allowing your kids to participate in, then, like I said, I question what your relationship is with Christ, or if you even have one. Are you an actual Christian, or are you just a pew sitter? Are you one of those that have a form of godliness yet deny the power thereof? Stepping on somebody's toes. Guys, I'm just trying to tell you the truth here. I'm just trying to be obedient to God and instruct His people. We have no business celebrating these things. We have no business performing in this. None whatsoever. And if your relationship with Jesus isn't close enough that you've been convicted over this, get closer. If you can actually hear this, and don't just take my word for it, research it out for yourself. I always say that. Good luck finding anything about this stuff on Google, though. Google's done everything they can to shadow ban, erase, and remove anything that has to do with true Satanism, Druidism, and everything else. You know, they have to protect their own. So good luck finding it there. Unless you're willing to actually go to a library and do some real deep digging, best of luck to you. But if you can hear this and research it and still make the decision that you don't care and you're going to perform this high Luciferian mock ritual anyways, well, don't be surprised when God calls you out on it. That's going to happen. You know, we all get tested. We all have to go through things, and we all have to show our approval to God. You know, obedience over sacrifice. We have to be obedient to the Lord. Deuteronomy 18, 9 through 13. That's just one example in Scripture of why we have no business performing these things. Celebrate the biblical feast. If you really got to celebrate something, do that. Makes more sense. At least Christ did that. You know? Seriously. Alright, guys, look, I didn't get on here to grind you to dust and step on you and kick you in the head. I came on here to enlighten and educate. Alright, guys? So, having said that, take what I'm saying to the Lord in prayer. Ask Him about it. Ask Him if I'm telling you the truth. I guarantee He's going to tell you that I am. But ask Him. Do me that solid and ask Him. And then when He tells you that Christians have no business doing this and that the church's trunk or treat things are an abomination to Him, speak out against it. Don't be afraid to actually go to your pastor or youth pastor and be like, yo, look here, man. This is what's in Scripture. This is what Halloween is. This is what Samhain is. Why are you teaching these children to do this? Think about it. Long and hard. Pray about it. Long and hard. Alright? Alright, guys. That's going to do it for this particular episode. I hope you guys are willing to pray and research this stuff that I'm giving you, because I wouldn't give it to you if I wasn't called to and if it wasn't absolutely true. I'm not trying to destroy. I'm trying to expose. You know, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. So if it hurts your feelings, sorry, not sorry. But if you got questions and stuff, as always, leave it in the comments below. I will do my best to answer them. If I don't respond to you in the comments, I will do some kind of video on the subject or something along those lines. Or I might just try and set up a time that I can go live so you guys can join me and hang out and ask questions, and I will do the best I can to answer them on the spot. Alright? Actually, if that's a good idea, if you guys like that idea, shoot, let me know down in the comments, alright? We'll set that up, okay? Alright. Till the next time, guys, be in prayer. War against the covens. Target them in spiritual warfare. What's going to happen over the next few days is gruesome. I mean, these are things I wouldn't wish on. Well, okay, I'm still getting to that point. I was going to say I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, but I've seen what the Satanists do to people. I'm working on it. I'm getting there, okay? I'm getting there. One day at a time. I'm a work in progress. But join me in prayer, warring against the covens, warring against these rituals. Ask God to do as He did, you know, for the disciples in the New Testament, where He sends an angel to open up the cages and actually leads them to freedom, or use an earthquake to shake the cages open and leads these captives and stuff to freedom. Or at the very least, ask God that if they are to be tortured when they are brought up there to the altar, that God would take take them out. That God would instantly bring their spirit up to him. That way, the Luciferians cannot torture that person, and their rituals will fall flat on their face. It happens. I've seen it done. Guys, join me in prayer over this. All right? Till the next time, Lord be with all you guys. God bless y'all. If y'all need prayer requests or stuff, hit us up. And I'll see you next time. It's Archangel. I'm out.